Hi guys, it's Kate from Counsel and Life Coaching. Today is Wellness Wednesday. We are talking about what we should be eating if we have been diagnosed or our children have been diagnosed with ADHD. So if you or your child has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, also known as ADD, attention deficit disorder, you need to watch what you're eating, okay? In fact, one of the biggest influences on our ability to stay focused, stay organized, control impulsiveness, plan, and follow through with the plans can be found on what we consume. Okay, we have already know that diet plays a major role in people with ADD and ADHD symptoms, so the condition makes it necessary to eliminate certain ingredients while ensuring sufficient levels of mental health boosting nutrients. This information is from Dr. Amen. I will put the link to the full article in the description, in the comment section below this video, so you can read it for yourself or copy it. Maybe share it with someone you know who has ADD, ADHD, or has a child also diagnosed with it. Diets are full of processed foods, synthetic preservatives and coloring, and toxins like pesticides, which is pretty typical for the traditional American diet, okay? But they're downright dangerous for everybody. But they're on the high on the list of no-no foods for those diagnosed with ADHD or ADD. So 3 notorious culprits that crop up in a wide range of foods and beverages should be avoided by those diagnosed with these disorders. So 3 foods to avoid if you have ADD or ADHD, or if your children do, okay? So don't let them eat these things. You're not gonna like it either. It's because it's hard and it's a part of the traditional American diet. Number 1 is sweeteners, like sugar. Sugar is one of those crutches that we use to combat feeling sluggish or down. But it ends up having actually the opposite effect. Sugar is disguised under many names, okay? It can be called fructose, corn syrup, sucralose, maple syrup, honey even, and or the fake stuff like you find in Diet Pop, including like saccharin, sucralose, aspartame. Sugar spikes, then dips the blood sugar, which worsens people's moods, and if you consume sugar over time, it causes inflammation, lethargy, cravings, addiction, etc. Okay, it can even produce some potential serious outcomes like aggression or memory issues. Are you hearing this? This is just sugar. And if you look at any prepackaged foods, all of these little hidden sugars, or the word sugar, is in these things, prepackaged foods mostly. Artificial sweeteners can contribute to chronically high insulin levels, cognitive concerns, behavioral problems, and more, okay? So keep in mind that sugar is not just found in like the obvious things like cupcakes or, chocolate, whatever, but it's also a byproduct of refined carbohydrates or simple carbohydrates, things that burn quick inside of our bodies, like breads, like white bread, pasta, pastry, stuff like that. Our bodies break that down, those kind of foods down, and actually convert it right to sugar, and it causes the same blood sugar spikes as eating cake and sweets. And so we want to get our carbohydrates from a complex carbohydrate, like in vegetables, okay? So if you crave something sweet, it's better to actually go to like a fruit instead of a prepackaged oatmeal pie, for example. I say that because there's some in the other room, just saying. We're working on getting away from prepackaged foods and moving to more fruits and veg for snacks. Number 2 culprit food, caffeine. Beverages like sodas, energy drinks contain double trouble combination for people with ADHD and ADD. We have caffeine and we have sugar, right? So even plain coffee apparently is a bad choice. So says Dr. Amen. Just like the sugar tricks the brain into thinking it's feeling good for a minute and then later crashes, the same thing with caffeine. It's like, ooh, first I'm focused and now he says it causes effects on the neurotransmitters that are similar to the ADD and ADHD medications like Ritalin and Adderall. But after these effects wear off over time, negative side effects like irritability, lack of focus can emerge. In addition, people who consume high levels of caffeine, like those found in energy drinks, which, by the way, there's one sitting in the refrigerator and it's not mine, just saying, have been observed in one study it actually produced significantly more ADD and ADHD symptoms. This is just with caffeine, you all. Caffeine actually lowers the blood flow to the brain, which can worsen the symptoms of ADD or ADHD over time. So there's potential for caffeine to interact poorly with nutraceuticals and medications that are commonly used as treatments for the ADD and ADHD, and possibly decreasing the effectiveness or increasing the negative side effects of those. The number 3 food category to avoid if you have ADD or ADHD is processed foods. Are you surprised by this list? I am not. Many parents welcome their kids home from school with prepackaged, thinking cookies, crackers, fruit chews, or chips are good, but not realizing it's just going to destroy their focus for after-school activities. This applies to all children, okay? So prepackaged processed foods, sugar, and caffeine does apply to all children, but those diagnosed with ADD or ADHD, it's actually, we need to be more vigilant as to what we're serving them. Because when processed snacks of the sweet variety, they already know their blood sugar is going to go really high, right? Because you have your body's trying to figure out how to balance that again, so it shoots out that insulin like, woo, we got a high blood sugar. It's going to pose a problem, right, when that happens. So we don't want to feed them a bunch of refined carbohydrates. Another potential interaction is that red dye number 40 and the artificial flavorings and preservatives that they often contain. So like, anything that has red in it, like maybe licorice does, I'm not quite sure, but those little chewy, anything gummy and chewy that's red. So there is a little bit of information about potential allergens, but I'll link it in the comments below, the full article, but I just wanted to let you know, if you or your child has been diagnosed with ADD or ADHD, Dr. Amen, who deals with a lot of people who have this issue, they have studied and found out that sugar, caffeine, and processed foods should be on the no-no list for people who have been diagnosed with those things. And really, honestly, for everybody, I know it's the traditional American diet, but you guys, we're like the sickest nation in the world because we eat a bunch of junk. So let's try and eat more whole foods, get more thoughtful about what we're consuming so that we can have better brain health and better body health and better mind health, because it'll help us not be so irritable and grumpy and not unfocused. Okay. So I'm Kate from Open Door Counsel Life Coaching, and that's your Wellness Wednesday.